Happy Free Friday. I cannot believe y'all braved this weather. We all need a wake up reminder that we live in Chicago, right? I think we got a little, got a little used to that warm weather. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Have information to share as always. Also want to hear from all of you how things are going in your shops, how's things going in your community area so that we can make sure that we, not just Children's Services Division, but Department of Family and Support Services are responding to your needs. One of the things I want to remind everybody, we are Children's Services Division, yes, but we're part of Department of Family and Support Services, part of the city of Chicago. So if you're having some issues like lights out by your building, don't hesitate to let us know. I will still say for you to reach out while I'm on the backside doing what I need to do to try to push it as well. But, you know, our job is to make sure that your facilities are safe. And safe not only means what's going on inside your door, but what's going on the outside. And so don't hesitate to let us know when things are not going the way that you feel they need to. So I'm really glad we got some lights on in front of your center. You know, nobody should be in the dark right now. It's dark too long in the morning, right? So I do have some updates for you. One of the things that I want to say, we have been working on our federal grant applications. They were due in September 1. Took us a while to finish them with everything that Office of Head Start was asking for. What I said to our grants team, who are new individuals, each year we submit it on September 1, and then we go back and forth with Office of Head Start over edits. One of the other things that's always a stall point on our grant applications also is governance documents from some of you. And so right now, whatever you're doing on calendars, calendar now for September, October, board and CPPC so that your documents don't get stalled in the process for your Head Start grant applications. Okay? Just make sure that you've already thought it out, calendar that put it out there so that everybody understands. None of our grants can go forward without your governance documents. We have to do the same thing. We have to have our CPPC and we have to have our board sign off, but we can't move anything without getting your agency, parent policy and board signature first. So right now, think ahead, next calendar year, if you got federal, go ahead and put it on the calendar, make sure that you already have it planned so that you don't get behind. And then people get upset when you come in going, oh, by the way, we gotta have a meeting. When? Because they're busy folks, right? So just go ahead and get it on their calendars now. Reminding everybody that the federal funds are still in what's called a continuing resolution. And what does that mean? And what I was saying here, we just got our notice of awards this week. When did our funds start? For federal, December 1, and we just got our notice of awards this week. And you never want to do that. You don't want to get them after your start date. Not that it affects you at all, but it affects everything being set up in the city system. And we just got them this week. So know that we are behind just a little bit, but we're pushing ahead. We are still, again, with federal funding on a continuing resolution. What does that mean? The current Congress decided not to sign off on any federal budget. They decided to push it forward until the new administration starts. So what we have is what's called a continuing resolution that allows us to continue to operate, continue to get our funding. But our grant awards had a notification in it, and guess what it said? Not until approved. Okay? Don't expect until you get something, until we get it. So we have a continuing resolution that we know that will take us until the they take office, right? But they take office when? January 20th. Okay? He said he's doing things day one. Will they be able to get a budget passed day one? I don't think so. Right? So just keep your eyes and ears open for everything that's going on around you. And I want to remind those of you with ECBG funds, know that those are federal to state. Those are not just state. They're federal dollars. They come into the states. The states then make determinants on how they are going to issue those dollars. So it is all wrapped up in this continuing resolution. All right? Keep your eyes and ears open. Understand what's going on around us so that we can all be able to advocate when we need to for ourselves. Any questions about that? All right. So you received today documents for Know Your Rights. We talked about it in our last EDPD, that everybody needs to be able to talk to parents, say what you need to say, make sure that they know their rights. Every person here has a right. All rights are not the same. I'm not the legal person. I'm not going to try to speak to it. You have documents in front of you where people can call and get more information. It's information there for parents. It's in English and in Spanish. We want to make sure that you at least have the start of something if people are asking, what do I do? I am going to say to you what we talked about before, and we will be in contact with you as we're talking about enrollment to see any impact. We do anticipate here in the city of Chicago that you're going to lose some enrollment. Anybody argue with that? If you're serving families that are new arrivals or immigrants, if you were listening to the news, I can't remember his name, but they call him the border czar, was in Chicago for a meeting. And he said, yes, mass deportations will happen. Does anybody know where he's starting? I'm sorry? City of Chicago. Okay. Now, whether or not that's going to happen or not, anybody in the city of Chicago heard that message? And all I'm asking you to do is be planful. Keep your eyes and ears on what's going on with your families. If you're serving families, I know some of you have enrolled new arrival families. Some of you have individuals who are concerned about their status. That's why you have the Know Your Rights document in front of you, so that they can find out what they need to do. But one of the things that they will also be getting from the folks that Know Your Rights, or Know Your Rights, the National Immigration System, they'll be talking to them about what they need to do as far as planning for themselves, making sure that they know where all their documents are. Making sure, for example, if you are my child care provider, that you know all of the people you can call if they come and get me. And everybody needs to be planning for that. We all need to know where our important documents are, right? I don't care whether you live here, from here, wherever you are, you need to know where your important, because it's like, where's mine? And do my children know? Okay, well, we're gonna make sure that my children know what I know about where my important documents are, because it doesn't help if they don't know, right? I am in a lockbox and they don't know where the key is. I just thought about that. So I have some work to do too. But my point is, you and the families that you serve need to be really thinking through, where are your things right now, and making sure that they can get access to those. Those families that are new arrivals who have family in other states will be connecting with those families in other states, but you don't know who they are unless you ask, right? And you want to make sure that their information is up to date every day. You can't just let children walk out of the door with any person who walks up, right? So make sure things are up to date. Who is the parent saying that you can release their children to? Have those conversations with your parents. Now, if you think you have a parent that may be impacted, don't let her worry. Talk her through it and let her know what you are prepared to do on behalf of her and her child. Okay? Any questions about that? I'm walking my fine political line. Not gonna cross it, y'all. I promise. Any questions about any of that? All right. Yes, I still have up there. We're working through the process for our RFP. We are still working on it. I was on with a call with CPS yesterday. We're trying to confirm some information tomorrow. So we're still working on it. We are planning still for early 2025. So keep your eyes and ears open. We will do all of our listservs, including the EDPD of CSD update. Everything that goes out of our office will go out with information as soon as it is launched. So you will not, if you're here and you are on any of our listservs, you're going to get it. We have other places that we're going to post it as well. Illinois Action for Children, Birth to 5, everybody who will let us do it, we're going to be putting it out there so that everybody across the city of Chicago knows that it's out there. Just as a reminder, last time we did our RFP, we had 759 applications. That's what takes us so long to get through the process. I'm anticipating that maybe more for this one, which means it takes time from launch to read to award. And that's why we're trying our best to get it out early 2025. A couple of updates. We do have some new staff starting. I know you've heard about hiring freeze in the city of Chicago. There were some positions Oh, that was great music. Go ahead. Hiring freeze and music all at the same time. I know you heard about a hiring freeze in the city of Chicago. There were some positions already in the process, and we were allowed to do it. On top of it, our funding is grant funding, so some of our positions were still allowed, and this being one. So Maurice Washington, who had been working in one of our other divisions, applied for a project manager position. If anybody had any interaction with Stacy Lind, who was our project manager before, we've been trying to hire for that vacancy, and so we've been successful. And he starts on the 16th. Project managing all kinds of things. I know the first thing we're going to have him work on with Sheree with new arrivals and some other things, but he'll get his feet wet in children's services because he's coming on board at the right time, right? RFP, grant starts. I didn't tell him all of that. He'll get his feet wet real quick. The other thing that I want to say is you're also given an opportunity to do promotions. This is new for the city of Chicago. Usually everyone who goes through, you go through the same cycle to get a position in the city of Chicago. They did decide that maybe let's try this promotion thing. And as soon as they said it, we said we wanted to try it in our division. And we were successful. We had 4 individuals who were supervisors over units who are now our new assistant directors. Yay! And I think they're assisting directing at the Office of Head Start Leadership Conference right now. Craig is here. No, Craig's right there. But Jacinta Passaman is now the assistant director over fiscal. Catherine Soto, assistant director over our quality team. Raven Whitehead, assistant director over operations, and Craig Zemke, assistant director over planning, communications, and data. And so let's give them all around the applause. When you say promote, you say more work, sometimes people go, that's nice, but not me. But all of them were willing to step in and actually meet the challenge. So we're really happy to have them in those positions. And I know the managers are because they've had those vacancies and needed some help. So I'm glad we were able to do that. But what that also opens up, just so you know, is there's no supervisors under them. And so they will be for a little bit doing the work of 2 people because they're still going to be managing the team under them without that supervisor. So give them a little grace, but they're still going to work on your behalf. Okay. Any questions? You don't have a slide. Why don't you have a slide? Because you've been at the conference all week. Make her tell you all about the conference, and she's been gone all week. Okay. And she don't have her slide. It's okay. It's okay, Sheree. We're going to give you some grace today. Today. You got something to say? You want to say something? You're too well, isn't she? Just see this real quick.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Great. Can you humor me, please? I need you to say 2 words, okay? Just 2 words. Can you please say happy and birthday to our deputy commissioner, because today is her birthday. She likes to be low key, but guess what? You gave me the microphone. Good morning and happy birthday, deputy. That's it. That's all we're gonna do in this moment. We just gonna say that's it. I mean, maybe later. Anyway, so I do apologize that I do not have a slide. What I typically do is go over what new arrivals looks like. As Saretho mentioned, well, first, I'm Sheree Johnson, Manager of Program Operations and Quality. And typically what I do is I go over where we are with new arrivals, shelter numbers, number of children in shelter. I do not have that information readily available. Reason being is, as she mentioned, we are combining systems. We had new arrival system. We have our current homeless population here in the city of Chicago. We've now transitioned into the One System initiative, where both systems will be merging together, which means that any new arrival shelter will either be closing or transitioning into our current homeless system. And I don't have all those details just yet because my meeting is tomorrow morning at 10. So once I get that additional information, I'll be sure to share that with everyone. What I can say for sure, in terms of what I do know related to number of children in shelter in the current new arrival shelters. At one point, we had upwards of 26 shelters, I'd like to say. As of today, we have 4 operating new arrival shelters. We had upwards of close to 20,000 children 0 to 5 in shelter. When I last checked on Friday, we had 403 children in new arrival shelter. So it's not that it's a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. We don't want a lot of kids in shelter, right? But I think that what's causing a decline in the numbers is right along the lines of what Sareka spoke about, with all that's happening politically, with all the, relocations and all of that. Our team is still working to place families in permanent housing. So a lot of those families are in permanent housing now. A lot of those families have transitioned to other communities within the state of Illinois or out of the state altogether. So I'll have additional information tomorrow, and I'll hopefully have a CSD update coming out, because I definitely don't want to wait until the January EDPD meeting to provide you guys with these updates, especially those of you who have been, heavily working with me to recruit and enroll families into your programming. So I just wanted to say that part. Are there any questions? Then I had another update, but I derailed my own thought process by saying happy birthday to the deputy. Which is good. I mean, because I like to celebrate birthdays. I like birthday cake. She do too. You like cupcakes? She do. And then as far as our internal promotions, she mentioned that the managers are happy. Angel and I are both ecstatic that we have fantastic folks filling in the void on our teams. What that means for operations, and this will also come out to you guys in an email of some sort, be it a CSE update or in your direct email boxes, is that we will be looking at how accident incidents are reported. So currently we report to the 2 team leads, which was Jacinta and Raven, but since Jacinta has transitioned to fiscal, that means it's Raven who is kind of sort of working solo, and we don't want her to work alone in this process because it's a lot of you, and we get a lot of minor things getting reported as well as those major and accidents or incidents. So we will be sending out additional guidance regarding that. But for now, continue to report all accident incidents as you are currently doing so. If you have any questions, be sure to loop me on there. But for now, it is okay if you continue to communicate to your current, what you know to be as your team leads, which is Raven and Jacinta. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, that's all I had. Here comes Angel. Come on down. I just want to say, she said, good morning, team. It's birthday season around here. Thank y'all for clapping it up, because she likes to be low key too. That's why I like y'all, because y'all heard me whisper. Y'all didn't air me out.
Asking questions. I just need you to write answers down for me, okay, baby? Thank you. So, is there anybody in here? Don't answer out loud right now. But is there anybody in here that does 100% of their attendance and meal count and CSD cares? If you can say yes, after this meeting, I need you to see Simsky. Raise your hand, baby. I need you to see him, because what that means is, if I can verify that I have 100% of your stuff and CSD cares for attendance only and meal count, you'll be able to stop doing that Microsoft Excel sheet that you said.
Please,
You gotta speak to Craig afterwards, because I've been hearing you all. And so I can only do what I can do. If you guys have any CSD cares, like Chicago Commons, I want to just brag on them for a little bit. I want to be able to give you all that same benefit. Oh, so one of the things that might be stopping you is we noticed in CSD Cares, you haven't all, some of you all haven't attached all your funding. So if a kid is PFA and HS, attach that other funding because that'll help you out as well when it comes to attendance. This is just up here because I know the feds are going to be here in our city. So some agencies only have one funding attached to the kid. But if your child is HS and PFA, put both funding sources on the kid. That way, when you do attendance, I can see it in both funding streams. Because if you don't, it'll give me, you haven't done attendance for all your PFA kids, all your HS kids. Yes, yes.
If they're not, if the FSS is not a grantee, we are partnering with another agency.
Oh, that's something different. I just,
So we
yeah, I'm
don't
just,
with those children.
yeah, I'm
Okay,
just worried
got
about
you.
BFSS.
Okay.
Yes.
got you.
Baby girl, SGA, did you have a question? No, okay. So I have this up here because I know, okay, yeah, stop saying big, okay, right. So I know that the feds will be back come March, April of next year. So I have this up here because I want everybody to remember that background checks every 5 years. So now is the time to be making sure that I'm legal. No, joke. That I have my background check and I'm within my 5 years working for your agency. Just some prep things. That's, sorry. So this is that wonderful thing that I'm giving you guys an assignment when you go back to your agencies. When you guys ask me, can I help you purchase a refrigerator, a stove, a microwave, a dishwasher? The first thing I ask you is send me your cost allocation plan. Most of you all send me your policies. It's good to know you have policies, but I actually need the plan. Your policy says, hypothetically, I will do X, Y, Z with the money that I have. Your plan says, this fiscal year, I have this funding source, and this is how I've broken it out. So when you ask me to help you, I need to be able to know how much I can allocate from your budget to that particular item. If you go to the next slide, I have an example. You can use it, you cannot use it. But my request is, ask your finance person, what is the cost allocation plan for FY24, FY25? So they will not say this, but if they cannot give it to you and they don't know what it is, you might not want to have them working in your finance department. Okay? Just a preview, just a preview. So, I always like to put examples because just because I do finance and I know it doesn't always mean program knows. So when you get these slides, just let them see it because they might think of some things that, you guys haven't thought about. And I think that's it for me. See? See?
Gonna do a little bit of work today. All right? They like, "We came here, now she wanna work us. We came here to not work. We came to get the refreshments, sit and talk to people we ain't seen, and she gonna come here talking about work." There are a couple of things that I do want us to talk a little bit more about. I want information from you because it's helpful for us as we're building and moving forward and thinking about all the things that we need to be doing. So there are going to be 3 questions. She's typing them feverishly if she can read my crazy writing. But the first one really is about enrollment. The next one is about staff. And then the other one is just overall wellness. As we're thinking forward and thinking about all the things that we are doing or will be doing in DFSS Children's Services, a lot of it is geared around those 3 areas. I don't always want us to be the one trying to think that we know everything that's going on. We need to hear from you. So I am going to put some questions up there. I'm going to ask you can talk to your peer, if you're from the same agency, whomever at your table, talk it through. Then I'm going to ask you to actually give us some of those things. And I've got staff, as she said, we're going to be writing some of your responses down. What it's going to mean for us is it'll help us stage a couple of things. Number one, as we're looking at, we just got our Head Start grants, right? December 1, it started. There's some supplemental funding on there. Is there something else I need to be doing or thinking about? Helps me gauge that when I'm working with my staff. When we're talking about what's going on with staff out there. Staff is impacting enrollment. Enrollment is impacting the grants. Everything's being impacted. What else can we think about? Some people have strategies, other people haven't heard about. So we want to talk about some of those things in this room. When it comes to overall wellness, for me, December, I'm a birthday person in December, yes, but I'm also a mother in December. Both my daughters happen to be born in the same week. I don't know how that happened. One's birthday was yesterday and the other one's on the 16th. Who knew? But anyway, for me in December has always been a month to sit down and really think about what are we going to do and why are we doing what we do. And I do the same thing with my staff, so I'm going to do a little bit of that with you guys. Because at the end of the day, we're all struggling with some of the same issues. We're doing different things, trying to get over some of the humps, but we're just not getting there. And so I just want us to talk through a little bit of it. So enrollment. How is your enrollment? You know how your enrollment is. I know how it is too, but let's talk about how your enrollment is and what do you think is happening? What do you see are issues in enrolling children? 0 to 3 for us, DFSS has been an issue for this entire program year. We are not enrolled on our early Head Start, our early Head Start CCP, our early Head Start expansion, or our PI. What's going on? What do we think is happening in Chicago that's impacting your enrollment? And if you're 0 to 3 specifically, now, yes, we're under enrolled for Head Start and PFA as well, but we're really under enrolled for 0 to 3. Okay, so I want you to think about that. Go to the next question. We're going to come back and put them back up. Staff, how is your staff? Right? You got your own feeling and sense about what's going on with your staff. But beyond that, are you struggling to hire or retain staff? And if so, why? Why do we think we're struggling to hire and retain? I could answer that, but my answer may not be right. But we need to be thinking about what the reason is behind it. And if there's any specific issues that you know that you, from your lens at your organization that you've thought about, let's share some of that as well. Your issue may be somebody else's issue. Sometimes we're so busy doing our work that we're not hearing that, you know what, we're all going through the same thing. Sometimes it's good to level set your own thoughts, like I'm not the only one out here. But it's also good to be able to hear from some other people and go, oh, well, that's something that might work for me. Tell me a little bit more about that. And this is an opportunity for us to do that this morning. And then overall wellness, as I said, how are you? Okay. How are you? I'm talking about you, each of you. Then think about those other people that you are responsible for, such as your staff and the families that you serve. Sometimes we start on the other side of that equation. But I also believe I'm not the best at it. Be quiet. But you got to make sure you're okay before you try to make sure everybody else is okay. Just like on an airplane, they don't say put their mask on first and then at some point put yours on because you'll be dead by the time you do that. So you put yours on first. You can't help somebody if you don't help yourself first, right? So how are you doing? And I ask you that specifically for this reason. Is there anything more DFSS can do for you in professional development, training, etc., in your roles? Because at the end of the day, we do a lot for teachers. We also have to think about all of you as well. All right, so go back to the first one. So enrollment. Talk at your table with whomever is sitting there. If you're alone, I'll come sit with you. She's sitting over there like, I don't know if I want somebody to sit with me. How is your enrollment? What do you see as issues? What are you struggling with? Okay, what are you struggling with as far as enrolling children and families? So I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes to talk about that. And then I've got staff who are going to be writing your responses to help us as we're processing through this. We just finished, for example, a federal as they said, enrollment initiative. I said, you wouldn't be talking to me if it wasn't under enrollment. So I said federal under enrollment initiative. And I was just finished in November. And we were still under enrolled. And so when I got the call that the Office of Head Start Region 5 officers wanted to talk to me, I was like, you gonna do this before my birthday? The week before, really? But when we met with them, it wasn't the call that I anticipated. And I'll be honest with you, because I was anticipating them saying this. You did not get your enrollment where it needed to be. As you know from the letter you received, we're cutting your grant by X dollars. Wasn't the call, so everybody give yourself a round of applause. That was not the call. Okay. But I sure thought it was when she said, I said, who won't talk to me? Karen? Over the office? Okay. And so I got on there. Hi, Karen. You just, she says, ready to calm down. Okay. But she talked to us about some other strategies. So what they could have done, they didn't do. So let's talk about it so we can figure out some other things we can do. Let's take advantage of this opportunity, okay? So take a few minutes. How is your enrollment and what do you see as issues? So talk amongst yourselves and then we're going to come back together and put some things down on paper to help us think through what do we do in City of Chicago? Because we got to get past this. Okay? All right, turning it over to you guys to talk.
Two more minutes. 2 more minutes.
All right, are we ready to come back? It's that last thought. All right, everybody, clap once if you hear me. Right, clap twice. Now give yourselves a round of applause. All right. So thanks for taking that time. I hear people sharing information here at the tables, which is great. So what I want you to do, and I just go around the room, you can raise your hands. I just want you to share some of the things that came up or ideas or issues around enrollment. If there are issues that we might need to tackle, if there are things that someone's doing that you haven't done and you thought it was a great idea, let's hear some of that as well. So I'm gonna let you raise hands, and I'm, having been yeah, she said that she one of them who will point to you. She is. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. All right, so we're gonna start right up.
Yeah, oh, there we go. So I'm Sonia, and I'm fully enrolled in my 2-year-old classroom. I am typically fully enrolled, for the early head start and always have a waiting list for preschool. And what I shared was that, number one, I treat it as, is this the business and I have to sell my business, right? And so how do you sell your business? You have to know the demographics of the community that you're serving, and then you have to go out there and get them. I don't wait till August to start recruitment. I start looking in April, right? And every week we're yeah, I can talk louder. And so just knowing.
Can you guys hear in the back? Okay, stand
I'll
up.
stand up.
Project. There you go.
Okay. So, I am typically always fully enrolled and always for the wait list. So no matter who walks in my center, I'm going to help them. I don't care what they ask me for, they ask all types of crazy things. I'm going to help them because they're never going to forget a familiar face, somebody that was like happy, bright, everything. And then before you start figuring out whether they qualify, did you sell your right? Did you sell your low rating numbers? Did you sell your qualifications for your teacher? Did you sell your company? Do you know your neighborhood, right? So for example, when I worked in the African-American neighborhood, they typically don't bring their children to childcare until they turn 3, right? So we have to target them and ease their mind. Like, okay, well, we have cameras in the classroom. We have 3 teachers in your classroom. This is a safe environment for your infant, for your baby. And doing that and selling your program and really knowing the community that you serve, it's going to help keep you fully enrolled. When you put people on the wait list, constantly follow back up with them every 2 months to see if they're interested. So if I have a slide, like sometimes people drop, I have another kid ready right after that. If somebody walks in there at my door and they're interested, I take their contact information, I give them mine, I give them service threat, we send emails, just keep following up. And that's going to constantly keep you enrolled. But I always say, sell your business, know your community and people that you're serving. Because right now I'm working with a heavy immigrant population and migrant families, they have to go to school. So I'm trying to really sell my program to them. and we're still fully enrolled. And then use your parents as your ambassadors. If you are good to those parents and you have a good reputation, they're going to help recruit all of those families.
Thanks for that. Anybody else?
The whole school. And that's the culture that we have to build. That's the first thing. So when we meet with the whole team, education site directors, teachers, everybody's responsible for enrollment. That means if you're at the desk, we greet families, you don't know if that's a potential family. We also look at data, as you mentioned. What is our greatest number showing how we get parents? And so we studied the data, and the data said that it's by word of mouth. So we had like Facebook, they got, how many people looked here. So I'm like, well, if that's how we get parents, how do we lean into that? So we have strategies. We also talked about just the difference in the parents that are now enrolling, like making them understand the importance of early Head Start, and Head Start education, because it seems like they don't really value it, because we've never had problems with enrollment either. And so the enrollment team, I said, well, maybe we need to take a different approach when we are recruiting. We're not just recruiting for numbers, but make the parents understand why it's important for children to be in the early Head Start program and Head Start, so that they understand. So that was something else. We also talked about making sure that we follow up with our family goals. So if they're not getting qualified because they don't have a job or they're not in school, are we doing our part to look at the whole issue? Are we supporting the families as well, so that they can keep their status? Like, we also have to meet with the families. So there's just a lot of factors that we've been actually meeting about intentionally, because we do know that if we don't have children, we don't have a job. So that's why enrollment is everybody's responsibility.
Okay, thank you. So I've heard goals, family goals. I've heard data. I've heard take it seriously, because it's not just our work, but we won't have jobs, right? So your funding is connected to it. I've heard making sure that families know that you care, that even if they just come in there on the wait list, just don't leave them on the wait list. Continue to connect until you're actually getting them actively in a seat. Anybody else? Oh, don't start now. Come on now, because I'll point.
Yeah, let me share for home base. We love to take care of our waiting list. And sometimes we try to meet with the parents, once a month and let them know that we don't forget about them, and probably to take some activities or some incentives, small incentives or information that they will need. So it's a way of keeping the content that they see that we care about them, even if they're not enrolled in the program yet. The other thing is I'm looking for the local schools. We do presentations for the parent committee so that we let them know that we have these services for the community. Also, we always take flyers with us so we can share with the parents. And they help us a lot to recruit more families, to talk to the comadre with the neighborhood. And they help us with this. And sometimes, it's hard when parents have a lot of responsibilities, and if they try to cancel, we say, no cancel. The word is reschedule, right? And I tell my staff that word in the program doesn't exist. Cancellation, no. So we always try to reschedule and give parents another opportunity so they can get the visit.
So changing our wording from cancellation to we're rescheduling with you, right? Cancel says what? Cancel says you don't mind. You don't really matter to me. If I'm canceling your service, I'm canceling a visit, you just canceled me. And that's what people can hear from that. So great ad, right? Constant contact. Anybody else?
One thing that we did this year, which was really helpful, was just an incentive for our family support and enrollment. we had a bonus based on like their percentage of enrollment by a certain time of the year. And so part of it was the families are there. It's about getting out there and really recruiting and getting the paperwork in and staying on it. And they worked as a team. It was a team for each office at each site, and that really helped.
Incentivize your staff to be a part of it, right? They have to understand is enrollment is everybody's job. I heard someone say taking flyers everywhere you go. Anybody you run into needs to understand what you do, right? If you were operating your own business, what would you do? How would you get people to your door? Think about those things. How are you getting people to your doors, and then how do you keep them? If you were in client services, what would you be doing to keep those people coming? Businesses, all kinds of businesses fail because we don't think it through. And that's not what we want to do in our programs. Anybody else? I saw back here, and then I'll come back up here.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. So what we've done this year too, which has been different for us, is that we have our monthly recruitment committee, which consists of our staff, teachers, and everybody involved. But we broke it down to subcommittees now, where the teachers and the staff are responsible for the 4 categories that we know are eligible, right? Homeless, SNAP, low income, and low income. What was the last one? SNAP, homeless, low income, whatever, the 4, right? And so now they are targeting every week to find an activity to do, and they're responsible for conducting it and doing it. And so another thing, housing, that's what it was. The community does not understand that because they're living with another family that's still homeless, right? And so like we're trying to reteach the community what does that mean, because we also have families that live in hostels, and like that's, but they always keep thinking that I have a roof over my head, I'm not homeless. So we're trying to find ways to like really advocate and like share with the community. Another thing that really worked well for us this year too is that we are at the Chinatown Library, but we are conducting their story time hour. So our staff is there with them doing the story time hour. And we know if kids are there during the story time hour on Thursdays at 10 o'clock, that means they're not in school. So that's another way that you could connect with your library.
Right, be there where they are. Then if they're there, they're not in school. If I'm there, maybe they will be, right? Who else hand was up? Who else?
Good morning, everyone. So some of the things that we did also is reaching out to our community partners. I know that sometimes we reach out just to connect to flyers or send out events, but in the summertime, we provided a tour to our community partners where they were able to, from Valor, so we were able to provide a tour for our adult programs and for our children's center. And it really, I think, made a good impact on our community partners because, they really know what we serve. They really know our community. They really say, yes, I'm going to refer more families to you. So it's more of an intentional, right? Not just a partnership that you meet once a month or you wait to see them or send them just flyers, but it's making that intentional connection to say, this is what we serve. These are our families and different communities. So I think it really made an impact to really connect to them even more and say, yes, we want to help you even more and refer families here.
Great intentionality, right?
The other piece that I'll just mention, and I think this was brought up, piggybacking, really tapping into our parent leaders, our parent policy council members, our parents, right? I think me saying, or a teacher saying, right, a staff member saying, our infant room is great, but a parent of a child enrolled in that room saying, I feel safe coming here every day and here's the services I get, carries so much weight. And so really empowering all of our families with all of those recruitment materials and things to go out and bring them back to their communities, their apartments, their places of employment has been huge for us.
To anyone else? Have you heard anything that make you walk? Catch me.
Just real quick, Ms. Parks, talk about your community partners. For those of you who have non-federal match waivers this year, even though you're not required to get a nonprofit match, still connecting with the community partners, even though you have had a waiver maybe for a couple of years, as you connect with the community. That's also helping to be for your programs.
Thanks, Karen. So did you hear anything that you haven't been doing? Anybody raise your hand? Did you hear anything that you might be able to do? Anybody raise your hands? Okay, so everybody must be fully enrolled then.
I said, heard some things that we are doing,
Okay.
the partnering with community partners and stuff.
So it's good to hear what you're already doing. Other people are doing it too, so you feel like what you're doing is advocacy, right? But also hearing from other folks, let's tweak it a little bit. You know, let me ask a question by raise of hands. How many of you at your organizations, every one of your staff understand enrollment is also part of their job? Any hand that didn't go up, we got some work to do because they need to understand this is a part of it. Everybody has to actively recruit. If you're out there, you see a parent with a baby, are you enrolled? Do you know that there's programs for your baby? You know, have a flyer, have information, make sure that people know. Don't take it for granted that people know what you do inside your buildings. They don't know. Many of you have great awnings and banners outside your building. But what it doesn't do for parents and community is translate to that's somewhere that I can take my baby. I talked to one parent and she said, the only reason I even thought that's what they were doing is I sat in my car and I watched somebody take babies in. And I was like, they take the babies in and they don't come out. So maybe I should go in there and find out if they could take my baby. I said, interesting. She said, and I said, what was it about the building? She said, the building didn't capture me. It was me seeing parents go in. So I want you to think about what's outside your building, right? Today, don't go out and put anything on the sidewalk because it's going to blow away. Or if it's got air in it, it's going to burst because of how cold it is. Correct. But whatever you can do outside your building to send the message that we're taking care of young children in this building, some of you need to know that because what's outside your building isn't telling the neighborhood that's what you do. Yes. Well, if I'm driving, guess what? I'm looking that way, right? If I'm doing this and driving, right? They're not catching it. And so how do you get them to catch the message of who you are and what you do? You can find out information that you can put out. You can put, hey, how many of you use your door hangers? Let me ask that. Because we have them producing door hangers. How many of you are putting them on doors? Meaning sending staff, we can stop making them. Just saying. If they're not working, see, this is part of my test too. If it's not working, we can use the money for something else, right? Because we are giving you door hangers and saying you can create more. But if nobody's walking the community and putting them on doors, then maybe we don't need door hangers. But then I'd have to ask you then, what if not that, then what? Because we're partnering with you on this, and I just want to know that we're using all of our resources the way that we need to be using our resources, right? Are you using your resources in ways that you can? I heard somebody say, you know, we're incentivizing. You can do that. You can use your funds to incent these activities, right? Come up with a plan and say, okay, if we increase our enrollment by 10%, everybody who was doing X gets a part of whatever X is, however big or small it might be. But what it says to them is that my work matters, that you're willing to do something like that. But at the end of the day, we all want to stay. We want to keep our doors open. We all got to do the work to do that. Let me give you one last thing about enrollment before we go on. Early Head Start Child Care Partnership. How many of you have that funding? Anybody? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Just messing with you. Thank you. One of the things that we're having to think about right now is redoing that grant. So we are writing a change in scope. And we're reducing the number of slots on that grant. What that will allow us to do is change the rate. It's going to take some time for it to get through Office of Head Start. But why are we doing that? We have maintained under enrollment on that grant since I worked here. I've only been here a few years, more than 2. But in the 7 years that I've been here, that Early Head Start grant has been under enrolled. It doesn't behoove us to keep it the way that it is. Office of Head Start's giving us an opportunity So those of you who have it will be talking to you today, Monday, about what it is that we're crafting so that you understand what we're doing. But with the opportunity to take those slots and roll them, what it will do for us, yes, it means fewer children, but we have already had fewer children because they're not being served anyway. But what we'll be able to do is look at what goes out the door to you, okay? And so that's the work of the team, is to do our data, do our assessment, and then make the right decision on our grants. And that's one of the things that we've been doing, okay? Next question. When we're looking at staff, how is your staff? How are they doing? What's their mental health? How are they doing? Coming to work, doing what you need them to do? Yes or no? But are you struggling to hire and retain? And if so, let's talk about some of the reasons and what might we be able to put our hands around and wrap our heads around it. I've got staff around the room doing the exact same thing with the previous question. I got one over there. I didn't know he could type that fast while I was watching him. They're trying to capture everything that you're saying so that we can go back as a team and discuss this, okay? So next question again is about staff. Are you struggling to hire and retain? If so, what are some of your reasons for it? It's nothing, nope, listen, everybody in this room, let's be honest with each other. Let's talk to the people at the table, whether they're from your agency or not. Why? Because this is happening across the city, the state, and national. This is an issue. This is not just you. Don't take it personal, okay? But are you having any specific issues? Can you think of any reasons why you're struggling? Okay, so did everybody hear that response? Okay, issue one, her issue, lots of resumes, individuals are not qualified. Limited number of people, they don't have the qualifications or credentials. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes to do it at the table. We'll come back and ask for more, all right? So look, go ahead and turn it over to you to talk.
Girl. Hi.
Two more minutes, 2 more minutes.
All right, let's come back together. You hear me clap once. Now give yourselves a round of applause for all that great talk. All right. So how, first of all, how's your staff doing?
Okay, if you can hear me. So my staff, they're fine. However, we can't retain them because they say to me, I can make more money at Amazon. I love children, but you're not paying me enough for the trouble. So we can, like, we're fully staffed now. Another problem that we were having was passing the licensure test. So if they don't get it, then we know we have to hire somebody else. So they're shaking in their boots. They're like, well, forget it. I can go down the street and I can work and make tips. So that's our biggest problem. Our staff, their morale is down because they're not getting paid the amount of money that they could make at other jobs. And they work harder.
They work real hard. Anybody else? Let me go back here and then see your hand up. Keep your hand up. I couldn't see who it was. That's okay.
Hello, everyone. I don't know if everyone else has been having the same problem, but fingerprints with DCFS has been horrendous. We had two girls all lined up, all their paperwork, everything. They were great. And still waiting about a month and a half. I email DCFS reps. I email their supervisors, you don't hear back from them because they're not working in the building. So we had two great girls and one went to Children's Museum to work right now. And the other girl is still waiting on her fingerprints to start. But if fingerprints would get through, it would be way more helpful.
Thank you. See, this is my way of trying not to feel 69 today.
Good morning, everyone. I echo the background check issue too, but going back to the compensation issue, that's a big issue for us because we had an ECE 5 teacher, 25 years old. She left childcare and went to go work for CTA as a bus driver. You want to know why? Because she got paid more money. They were paying her 32 an hour plus overtime, plus benefits. So the pay is a big issue when it comes to both hiring and retaining staff.
Thank you. Anyone else? Of help. Help.
Yes.
The focus is on the pay, that is not all. So it's the pay months of operation, that are building holidays. It's a shorter work in some cases. So it's all of those things that impact. And even Teacher Institute Day. Now, we operate contract 200. That does not allow for flexibility for protected time in service institute day. We can train staff because we serve working families. You cannot shut down and expect that you're going to serve working families. So because we operate, that really challenge trying to meet those staff building in work time. Because work time is one of the false expectations. Probably no matter what you do, people not giving you time to get the work if it's not paid work. So I think if we look at those kinds of things, that may help us as we move. They want to come to work 9 to 5. And be out the door. They don't extras.
I'm off at what time?
So we really want to look at culture.
Absolutely.
I think it's almost like
Yes,
we are in one time. We have a different culture.
yes.
So how do we attract a different culture to this field?
Absolutely great. I mean, that's a great point. How many of you agree? That one wasn't lost to me.
I'm gonna add to that, the credentialing mandate has been something that has deterred a lot of the staff we had and the staff that we're trying to obtain, because we still have to say now, there is a mandate, sure, professional development plan has to say that you plan on doing X, Y, and Z by this date and time. And I have one girl that was like, well, can I get back to you? Because I don't know if I really want to go back to school. I don't know if I really want to put this down in writing and you hold me to it, you know, and then staff that had AAs can't get to level 5 with an AA. I'm gonna go work for somebody else. And they left, you know, so I think that's part of it too. Now, I know we had an extension to 2025. What they saying now? Do we know?
Sorry?
What? So when we started with early child, we almost went to the point we were from some.
Yes.
29 babies, right? When we entered this field, we did not have credential early childhood. Sorry. But we were able to hire people and work them through the process. We really need to look at, is it time for us to take a 20-year step back? Not really, but look at some of the things that we put in place years ago. Because if not, this field is going to shut down.
It's actually 35 years if you want to know the truth. It really is, yeah.
Are we able to, like,
So the only one that I can get a waiver for from Office of Head Start is for Head Start. Okay? I can't do it for 0 to 3, but we can do it for Head Start. If we do it for Head Start, it's on the individual basis. It's no group, there's no one and go. It's who is she? Where is she? What is she doing? And now you got to track it and be able, then we have to report that to Office of Head Start. So can we talk about waiver? We can talk about waivers. Let me say what I will not do because I don't want to harm any of you. I'm not putting it down in writing that we're doing waivers, and let me explain why. Because everybody will want a waiver for something and everybody can't get one, and then you get in the middle of it all. I can't get a waiver for a bachelor's degree level 5 in a PFA classroom. Can't get a waiver for that. And so I'm constantly explaining what we can and can't do.
Because we are.
Yes.
You're saying, right? Right. We are having struggle finding that
Right.
if we only focusing on the, I'm the third person in the classroom, right? But I can't find people with those 18 hours.
Correct. And so I understand the struggle, and that's why I want to write it all down so that we can go back and strategize. The language around waiver is you won't let me do it. Okay? That doesn't preclude us from us working out how we will do it on our grant. But it's not something that I can. Y'all heard me. I think y'all understood what I'm saying. But we need to really strategize and think about what, and that's why I'm asking you now, what are some of the issues? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have teachers, you can't operate classrooms, you can never get the enrollment, and it's just a rippling effect. And it has been a rippling effect really for the last couple of years. This is not just this year, but it's been a rippling effect. How do we get ahead of it now? What strategies and things can we put in place right now? If we can boost our enrollment, yes, that's going to help. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen program year 25, 26? We've got to know what we're doing. Okay. Office of Head Start has put in, we have right now, let me preface it, a new Head Start performance standards, which is on hold, waiting on new administration to authorize it. So even though it was out there, they have the ability to say yay or nay to anything that's in there. So we are waiting to hear about that as well. But at the end of the day, our workforce is our issue in many cases, and we've got to do what we can do around our workforce. This isn't on one grant specific. This is just about in 0 to 3, 3 to 5. It's everything that we do at DFSS and Children's Services Division. So.
Of course, I have some of the same problems, but what I decided to do is to stop focusing on the credential and start looking at the Chicago Early Learning Workforce Scholarship student, going directly to them because they're about to graduate, right? But they don't even know about the credentials. So we really need to start partnering with them so that we can get all their graduates. Hey, we're hiring and making sure they're applying for the credential before they graduate. And then, of course, I'm at city colleges, so who's all graduating with this degree? Here's the flyer. So we need to start targeting those people that are in school who are about to graduate in December, and all of those. They qualify for the credential. While they're in school, they need to be working in the center so they can know what they're getting themselves into, because they're not doing that. And then they're running through centers and then they're quitting because it is too much for them. And so we have our pool and we have our people that agency have because they're over here and over here and over there, but we need to target the ones that are in school in order to meet that requirement.
Years ago, one of the things that we used to do is we would at every graduation, every time there was a group of students leaving community colleges, we were sitting right there in front of them talking about job opportunities. And we've gotten away from some of that, and we've got to go back. We got to be where people are. So if how much do you think we put in every year for the Chicago Early Learning Workforce Scholarship, DFSS? A lot. $5 million, y'all. We should, okay. We got to get beyond this because it's hard to justify that amount. And then I'm hearing them, we're still talking about getting people with degrees and credentials. So help me keep that scholarship by us strategizing around it. So I'm going to go to the hands in order. Okay. Absolutely. Right. Right. And so we do have parents who are in the scholarship program. Okay, you don't have to be working to get that scholarship. You have to have an interest in early learning. And so you got parents, if you're trying to groom parents, it's an opportunity for them to get on track and get their degrees and certificates as well.
So one of my issues with the scholarship is that I encourage my teachers to participate. They graduate and then they leave. Because they could go work in CPS under the early learning, it falls under the same category. So we encourage teachers to use the scholarship, get their license or get their associate, but they could still leave us and go work at CPS for a little bit more money. So could there be language where they have to stay at the center that they received the degree in, or because they're leaving soon, they get the degree and going to CPS?
That is one of the language things that we've got to work out, because what it says is 3 years in early learning. It does not say 3 years at the center where you worked. They figured that out. Okay? Because the language does not say where you work. And so at first, people were staying because they heard, I have to stay for 3 years. So they heard the 3-year message and they stayed. Now they figured out it says in early learning. We have some work to do.
I have a question. I wanted to go back to something that you mentioned. So we have people that we hired, they gave their jobs a 2-week notice, gave them offer letter, and their background checks are not cleared. Is there anything we can do, because they're like basically leaving because they've been waiting
So we're going to talk about background checks as soon as we get back to the office, because we've got to figure out what it is you have to have documented. I know DCFS for licensing, I know what they're requiring. And, working with them to understand what this is doing to all of you is what I'm trying to message. But we have an onus of responsibility to look at our internal system too, to see what else we can do. We're sending people through ADP, right? When you go through ADP, it goes through those screenings, and then you can wait on DCFS, right? ADP, which is our vendor for background checking. If you go through there, you get documentation that they've done at least the initial clearances, right? Now, if it's a federal funded program, then what you say is this person can work for me. Once they get DCFS clearance, then they can be put on my grant. Doesn't stop you from hiring. I still think we have some workarounds that we need to talk about to make sure everybody understands that. Now, when it comes to CPS, you have to go directly through that system, right? So it's a both and, not an either or. You still should be using your COI. I think that's the right thing for it. And then that background check system. But we've got to make sure we're using every avenue that we can, so it's not stopping you from hiring folks. And again, it may stop you from putting them on your grant. I'm not going to tell you that that won't happen, but you have to at least acknowledge and have the right thing in place that doesn't have, you have an issue with your license. Were you going to say something? Invite. Who? Sure, we can ask them to come. We'll see if they'll sit in front of all of you. It's worth a try. It's worth a try for them to come in and then have them hear exactly what I'm hearing. Absolutely. Absolutely. And what is it we can do and what is it they can do and how we partner in the middle. There you go. Okay. Yeah, because we don't want to lose our friends, because I can still call them when people call me. So you got to leave that door open, right? But we'll definitely check and see. I know they're taking a note about that.
Childcare careers, and they charge a finder's fee. And so to retain her, I want to give her a legal binding contract that says she has to remain for a certain length of time if I pay this money. Can I do that?
All right, so I'm gonna go up here so nobody beats me when I say this. But those legally binding contracts are worth about the paper that they're printed on, to be perfectly honest with you, because you can't force anyone to stay with you. That person may sign the agreement and then say, I figured out I don't have to stay in this. Really, you would spend more money going to court over it than the value on that piece of paper. So I understand the legally binding. What we have, for example, in the scholarship is we say you need to stay for 3 years. We still have people who exit before the 3 years are up. Okay, what it says in the scholarship is if you leave before the 3 years, then you owe whatever the money is. But we can't force them to stay, and we recognize that. Okay. And what else?
So we are trying to incentivize staff as well. I'm from Mary Crane and all of our staff did just get a bonus. We're going to be rolling out some recruitment and enrollment bonuses. We're still offering sign-on bonuses for new staff. But when I look at the progress we've made, and I was just looking at our list that was sent over to the DFSS team, you know, we still have, I think, 11 or 12 vacancies for teacher assistants and only one for a lead teacher. We utilize childcare careers. You know, there is a waiting period, so you can get around those contracts. And also if it's posted online on a different site, there's a way to get around some things. But also I think a dynamic a lot of us are dealing with that we haven't mentioned is many of us are unionized. And that plays a big role too in our staff retention, disciplinary, and ways that we can move people around internally as well. So I know what the next question of, you know, what could help, I think some communities of practice. I know there's the fiscal community of practice, but you know, just being able to talk and like hear these ideas. I know I've jotted down a lot of things as well. It's very helpful. So thank you for that.
Thanks, everyone. I mean, it's a lot. Staff is an issue. It's not lost on me. You know, I may have been here for 7 years, but I spent 20+ years on the other side, and I had the same issues. I had to sit with individuals in tears who, if we got a COLA, don't give me the COLA, is going to take me over what I get because I got childcare. Don't give me the COLA. And I'm like, what do you mean don't give? I can't take the COLA. You're going to increase my salary. As soon as you do that, I'm going to lose my childcare. You know, and you get or medical or whatever other public benefits, right? And so, you know, we have people who are still, the other side of their life is still on public benefits. It shouldn't be the case. It just shouldn't be the case. But that is the reality that we're in. And yes, we are in, I'm going to say the word in this room. Y'all can say you heard it from me. It is competition. But the competition isn't just CPS. That's you too. You guys are competing for the same people, right? So let's be honest. We all in competition with each other. We love each other, but we in competition with each other because we're hiring from the same pool, right? And so if one person's doing something that the other person isn't, then all of a sudden you look prettier to me than you looked last week, right? I'm gonna be sick tomorrow. You knew you were gonna be sick tomorrow? That's amazing. Last time I checked, I get up, I'm sick. I usually don't know the day before. And then they come back and they look all spry and well. And it's like, oh, you got over it just that quick. And they did because they went an interview somewhere. Okay. I had to get used to people telling me I got ghosted. You know, ghosted in, you know, my language at my age was something different. But, you know, you're waiting on people to show up for your interview. You're all ready and nobody shows. They don't call you. They don't tell you. They had 5 different interviews and they were weighing all of you against each other. And it was like, it's in an either or, and it's a you or no, right? And so I know what you're going through, but we have to try to figure out what strategies can we, DFSS, help you with? What can you then on your side be helpful with so that we can figure this out? Because at the end of the day, early learning field, and we're finally able to call it that, will crush and implode if we don't do something different. Because you can't operate without teachers. Okay? You just can't. Now you have other staff that you're using in classrooms, and I know that, and they'll tell you, but you know, this isn't what I came to work for. I didn't come to work for you. I came to work as your family support specialist. And I've been in the classroom for 6 months. What are we gonna do about this? And you look up and you don't have a family support specialist or a teacher, right? So I know what you're going through. I want us to keep putting our heads together to try to figure this out. I don't care if it's family childcare homes. I don't care if it's home visiting. I don't care what you're doing. If you're serving a child, you got an issue. And we have to raise it and say, we know what the issues are, but what can we do about it? And we have to team on this. This is not an individual crisis. It is a crisis for all of us, okay? And so we're taking your words. We'll come back. We'll talk more. Communities of practice, thank you for saying that. I saw Sheree quickly write that one down. I think I saw Cam in the back do that as well. And so we do need to do more communities of practice to make sure that you have an opportunity to be in groups and constantly talking about these things. So I thank you for your honesty in this room, folks. Next one. So overall, how are you? And I'm gonna stop there because I want to talk about you. How are you all doing? Because it starts with you in many cases. right? And if you're not okay, they're not okay. It's like mama, if mama ain't okay, children are not okay. In your work environment, if those of you are in leadership roles, if you're not okay, your staff are not okay. My staff will not admit this, but I know it. A lot of times they watch me when I come in, especially from a meeting, they're looking like, she'll be off. And I don't blame them, right? If I go somewhere and I come back, you want to know, was it a crushing meeting? Was it good news? What does it impact you? And we're hearing about impacts everywhere, right? And so, but who is wearing that every day? Those of you in leadership roles. And sometimes, let me tell you, having been there, is the loneliest seat in the world. Because you got things you want to talk about and can't talk to anybody, can't tell nobody about your problems at home. But who at home can you talk to? Really no one. And so I get that. And what I want us to do is not only a community of practice for teachers around fiscal, but I want to do it around leaders. Because you need a chance. You need an opportunity. You need to come together and talk about what this is and how this is and what's happening. Because if you don't survive it, we ain't gonna survive. So I need you to be okay as well. So I'm not gonna ask you to put up your hand and tell me how you're doing. But if anybody wants to share. You're like, we ain't telling you. It's okay. I know that it's an environment of stress, right? It's an environment where not only are you stressed, if you got family yourself, you're dealing with that, right? You see your staff. Why are you looking at me like that? You see your staff and they stressed and you trying to smile, right? Your smile used to be a full smile. Now it's just a smile on the left side of your mouth, but you're trying.
So I go to therapy once a month, and one of the things that my therapist talks about is that it is difficult to talk about how you are doing because you might not have any person to do that. And one of the best things to do to address your own personal wellness is to actually write it down, is to review it with yourself, write it, put it word to paper, put it on a journal, even if it's just on a notepad, just write it down and review it. Is this how I'm actually feeling? And then find a way to address that, even if it's positive or negative. That's what you do, is you see it in front of you, and that's the goal that you do.
All right, so sounds like we need to go buy everybody a journal. All right, works for me. Works for me. Will y'all write in the journal if we give you one? You heard him say yes, Sheree. Write that down. And we're gonna come back and say, talk to me about last time you wrote something, where you at now? No, we're not doing that. It's personal and it's private. Everybody has their own journey. But at the end of the day, if you don't at least share it with yourself, and I agree with you, all you're doing is holding it in, right? Someone asked me this morning, and I was like, I don't know why you called and asked me that, but it's okay to ask me that, because she knows how old I am today. She said, how did you do it? Which bothered me that she had to ask me that, but the reason she did is because she's lost 5 siblings in the last couple of years, who are within my age group, and she's the younger. How did you do it? You know how I did it? I'm looking at all of y'all. Because at the end of the day, once you find something that you're passionate and compassionate about, no matter how hard the course is, you can find something in it that'll keep you going. I have said many years ago and have been reminded at the workforce launch that I said this in a meeting years ago, that the reason I'm in it is for us to get to a point where this is recognized as a field or an industry and that people are paid their worth. I said, after that, then I can go retire. So I'm still standing in front of you because but that was the promise that I made to myself. If I'm going to be in this, I have to have a goal. And so every one of you, you need a personal goal. And what is that, right? I'm the mother of 2, grandmother of 5. Somebody asked me, is one of them a girl? No. All boys. What's wrong with that? Anyway, from 23 to 8, right? We were sitting at dinner for Thanksgiving. Not on Thanksgiving Day, because it's hard to get these folks in the same place. But I made us all get together. My youngest really did it. We drove to Urbana where the other older sister lives, and we were all in a room. And we were in a room by ourselves, thank goodness. Because my youngest grandson said, do they know us? And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Because we talk loud and we laugh loud. So is that why they put us in a private room? I said, I don't know. But we were in this restaurant last year, so it might be. You got to find laughter and you got to find humor, right? You got to find sometimes you just got to laugh at yourself. If nobody else gives you anything else to laugh at yourself. But you have got to find ways to release some of the stress that you're under, and you are under a lot. And you can't let it take you out of here. I had a stroke when I was at Carol Robertson Center for Learning, and I had to learn how to walk again. And I said to my CEO at that time, I'm not coming back on a walker. I'm not coming in a wheelchair. If I can't come back at least where I felt like I was, I'm not coming back. And that's what I said to the physical therapist and everybody is I have a plan, I have a goal. I don't know what you're going to do about it, but that's where you got to get me to. Because I'm not going back to work like that. Because if I had settled into I can't walk, I wouldn't be walking today. You have to not let it be your station in life. You got to see it and understand it and say, that's not for me. And move on and do what you got to do, right? If you don't do that, then you've accepted it. I will not accept that we can't get salaries up. I will not accept that we can't get enough folks with credentials. I will not accept that we cannot enroll these children. And that keeps me moving constantly to try and figure out what else, because we got to do something different. And I agree with all of you, especially what you said, Dorothy, what we were doing many, many years ago. The sad part is we got to go back and do some of those things all over again so that we can build where we're trying to go. And that's our reality. We have to be creative and think outside the box. We got to be able to bring people in and then figure out how to keep them in. And it's not just the salary. It's not just the salary, right? Anybody? Are they going through a mental health crisis as well? Yes. Whether we acknowledge it or not, yes. Their jobs, if they're in classrooms, is stressful. In the Head Start performance standards, I hope it doesn't get repealed, but in it said what? That you got to be able to give people breaks. You got to make sure that you have figured out time. You got to make sure that they can get what they need in order to be the best person they can be in that classroom. How do you do that? You got to staff up to do that. Because if I'm letting you go out on break, somebody got to cover classroom. And so we recognize to do it, it's a lot of work. But we have to say we are passionate about it, and we're going to work and find systems and ways to make this work. It's about sustainability. It really is. How are your children and families? Terrified. Terrified. Don't think for a moment they're not hearing anything that is going on in this field. Parents are terrified they're going to lose their care. Parents are terrified your center's going to close. Parents are terrified that they're going to lose their jobs because you close. Parents are terrified that they're going to lose their benefits because of the federal government. Parents are terrified that they're going to lose their housing. They're living in fear. And I didn't say these are families who are immigrant families. These are families in general. And so take the temperature. Do what you can do to help people at least feel safe in your environment. It might be the only time of day that they do. If a mom comes in to drop off a kid and she looks like she's completely out of her head with everything going on, should she drive herself to work in that instant? Stop her. Let her breathe. Calm down. Baby's safe. One thing you don't have to worry about. Okay, take a breath. Okay. You better? All right. Go ahead. Let me know when you make it to work. Which says what? You care. And that's what they need to know is somebody cares about them. So I'm not asking for the impossibility because some things are just simple things that you do for other people that I'm asking you to also do for your staff and families as well. If you send a staff home Do you check on them? If you don't, you should. Because if you sent me home and I had a little bit of a cold and I got a call from another agency while I was at home, I go, they didn't even care that I left today. I was thinking that I wasn't gonna go work for the Baby Academy. Maybe we'll go ahead for that interview. Keep your hands on the pulse of all your people and know how they're doing, but it starts with you. Any questions about the things that we've done today? Any others? Anything else that anybody wants to add to our conversation? I had staff diligently around the room, writing down all the things that we talked about. I do have a staff member who's going to take some of what you said and put it into a form of a survey for everybody who wasn't here so we can get some other feedback from them as well as we begin to build our strategies. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
See, it's her birthday when she dropping gems.
Because I care about all of y'all. No, but thank you for your honesty and thank you for your willingness to have this conversation. Sometimes it's hard in front of other folks that you really don't know. You feel like you're telling off on yourself. Not in this space. We're just helping each other. All right. Any questions from anybody? All right. We have an individual who was with us previously. Gina? Stand up. Stand up. Anybody remember that face? Yeah. Gina Pasella was with us before on our disability team. We did have a retirement and we've been lucky enough to have Gina come back and rejoin our team. So welcome her back, please. Thank you. Oh, thank you for coming. All right. So that was it for me. I'm going to stop and see if you have any questions for me before we finish for the day. Anybody? I know you didn't think you were coming to work, did you? How dare you work at work, right? But it was good work. Good, good, good. I'm sorry? The fiscal year closes December 31st. Okay, I'm gonna say it on mic because I want to make sure everybody heard it. City of Chicago books close because we're on a calendar year, January to December. Even though your fiscal year for ECBG goes till June and your federal Head Start goes until November, it does not matter. If you are on that grant, all of your invoices need to be in so that they can process through the city system. Last year and year before, we had people who submitted vouchers after. They are saying, not this year. So tell your people, everybody, all of our invoices need to be in the system in order for them to be processed for anything that you did in calendar year 2024. Right? Does everybody understand that? Y'all can send me emails. We didn't get them in, and you're going to get this message from me. As I said, and as was put into CSD update, and as went out from the finance division, books are closed. Every administration is different, and then flexibility is not there. How many of you have heard that there was a budget issue in the city of Chicago? Don't let your invoices be one that helps us out. Just saying. Okay? Make sure you get everything in. I see your hand. Ken, I'm gonna come to you and I also see your hand up. Thanks for adding that, Ken. I'm sorry. CCAP, she hasn't gotten paid for CCAP. We have been working through the system. I know they were trying to do some, nobody's here, some direct billing, so that we could start getting you paid because the system itself isn't generating it. So send me an email and let me know what's outstanding for you so that I can kick the system. Okay? You need my email address. You got it. Okay. I'm just making sure. All right. So anyone who has not been paid for any portion of their CCAP from City of Chicago, send me an email so that I can make sure it's included in my communication with our fiscal team. Our first, our managing, Raymond, Managing Deputy Raymond Barrett was on yesterday as we were on a call, and we talked about what they're trying to do to get all of these through. But make sure that they have all of your documentation and everything that's needed. So if you have not been paid, please send me an email so I can make sure that we get yours captured in that system. It too is the January 10th date. So I want to make sure that things don't get stalled out there any longer than they already have. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I thank everyone for coming out in this cold and braving these temperatures to be with us. And I thank you for your honesty and participating in our work today. So thank you. More to come from what we've just done and more work. We got a lot of work to do, people. So thanks, everyone. Have a great one. Be safe.